Captain Jack Mallory sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the framed photo of his younger self in full firefighting gear. It was taken the day he graduated from the academy, 30 years ago in Portland, Oregon. He had hair then, and that cocky grin of a man who thought he'd live forever. Now his face bore the lines of 1,000 battles with smoke and fire. His knees creaked like old wood, and his lungs often reminded him of years spent inhaling soot. Yet here he was, suiting up for what was supposed to be his final shift. "Retirement party tomorrow, Captain? Better rest that back," his youngest teammate, Ryan Wilkes, had teased earlier in the station locker room. Jack had only chuckled. "I'll outlast you kids yet," he'd replied, though his joints begged to differ. Jack had planned everything meticulously: the goodbye speeches, the laughter, and a quiet drive home to his wife, Linda, who was already arranging a fishing trip in Montana. After a lifetime in service, he was ready to trade the sirens for birdsong and fire engines for the hum of a small boat's motor. But fate has a way of rewriting plans. At 11:47 p.m., just as Jack was finishing up paperwork and watching Ryan snore loudly in the bunk room, the alarm blared through the firehouse with a jolt. "Structure fire, residential, corner of 18th and Harbor. Multiple occupants, possible child trapped." Those words cut through Jack like ice. He snapped up his helmet and slid into his turnout gear, with a speed that defied his age. Ryan was right behind him, groggy but sharp, his youthful energy on full display. "Let's move!" Jack shouted as the team barreled into the truck. Sirens wailed, red lights painted the dark streets, and Jack's stomach tightened in that familiar way it always did before a big call. After decades of rescues, he knew the rhythm of these moments. But tonight, something felt different. The neighborhood came into view, its streets eerily silent except for the orange glow of fire licking the sky. A two-story Victorian house stood engulfed in flames, black smoke spewing like a signal of distress. Jack's mind raced, a child trapped. He'd been here before, too many times, but never on his last day. As they pulled up, neighbors shouted from the sidewalks. "There's someone still in there," a woman cried, tears streaming down her soot-streaked face. Jack's pulse thundered. "Let's gear up. Ryan, you're with me," Jack barked, grabbing the Halligan bar. His instincts roared to life. Retirement could wait, for now there was still someone to save. The heat hit them like a freight train as soon as Jack and Ryan breached the front door. Flames danced hungrily along the walls, chewing through old wallpaper and wood beams like a predator that had finally been set free. Smoke coiled thick in the air, clawing at Jack's throat and lungs despite the protection of his mask. "Stay low," Jack yelled over the roar of the fire. Ryan's voice crackled through the radio in Jack's helmet. "Cap, I think I hear something upstairs." Jack paused, listening intently as his ears strained to hear past the chaos. A faint sound, a muffled cry, perhaps a child's voice. His gut clenched. "We're going up. Follow me," Jack ordered, gripping his Halligan tighter. They climbed the narrow staircase, each step a risk. The fire was greedy here, too. Wood groaned and popped beneath their boots, smoke blinding their path. Jack's every muscle ached, but adrenaline pushed him forward. There was no turning back. Halfway up, a section of the railing crumbled in a shower of embers. Ryan jumped back instinctively. "Careful, Cap!" "Keep moving," Jack barked. A second cry echoed from above. Closer now, panicked and weak. Reaching the top, they found the hallway engulfed in black smoke and roaring fire. Jack pointed to the far room where the sound seemed to originate. "Over there!" Ryan hesitated for half a second, but Jack pushed forward, driving his shoulder into the smoldering door. It buckled on impact, crashing inward. Inside, the flames had yet to fully claim the space, but smoke loomed like a shadow of death. Then Jack saw her, a little girl no older than 6, curled beneath a small bed, coughing weakly as she clung to a stuffed bear. "Got her!" Jack shouted. He dropped to his knees and crawled through the choking haze. "Come on, sweetheart. You're okay," Jack said softly, reaching for her. The girl flinched at first, her wide eyes fearful. But when his gloved hand touched her arm, she didn't resist. Jack lifted her carefully, cradling her to his chest. "Ryan, we're clear. Get us out of here," Jack ordered, his voice strained but firm. Ryan led the way, clearing a path back toward the staircase as flames crept closer, gnashing like teeth. The house groaned, its structure weakening under the relentless assault. Jack gritted his teeth, almost there. Jack felt the floor shudder beneath his boots just as they reached the top of the staircase. The groan of timber was unmistakable. The house was losing its fight. "Ryan, double time it!" Jack barked, his voice cutting through the roar of the flames. The young firefighter shot a glance back at Jack. The girl's stuffed bear gripped tightly in his free hand. He nodded, bounding down the staircase with long strides. Jack followed close behind, holding the little girl securely, feeling her shallow breasts through his turnout gear. But halfway down, the world tilted. A splintering crack ripped through the air as the staircase buckled beneath their weight. "Move!" Jack roared, lunging forward as the wood gave way behind him. Ryan hit the ground floor hard, rolling instinctively to shield himself from falling debris. Jack wasn't as lucky. His boot caught on a jagged plank, yanking his leg backward as he fell, twisting to shield the girl. His shoulder slammed against the wall, and for a moment, everything blurred. "Cap! Cap!" Ryan's voice sounded distant, frantic. Jack blinked hard, the little girl still cradled tightly in his arms. She whimpered softly, her small fingers clutching his jacket. Pain screamed through Jack's leg and shoulder, but he gritted his teeth. "I'm good!" he shouted back. "Get the door open!" Ryan didn't hesitate. He scrambled for the front door, which had swollen from the heat, jamming itself in its frame. Jack pushed himself up, fire licking closer as smoke choked what little air remained. "Come on, kid," Jack whispered to the girl, forcing himself to his feet. His leg burned with every step, but he pressed forward, one step at a time. Ryan gave the door a final, desperate shove, and it burst open. Cool night air rushed in, and the roar of the fire seemed to scream in defiance. "Let's go!" Ryan yelled. Jack stumbled through the doorway. The girl held close to his chest. The fresh air hit like a wave, and he collapsed to his knees on the lawn, coughing violently. The girl stirred, letting out a faint, precious cry. "She's okay," Jack rasped, his voice barely audible. Relief washed over him like rain. The Victorian house groaned one final time before collapsing inward with a thunderous roar, sending sparks into the night sky. Jack didn't look back. His eyes were on the little girl, safe in Ryan's arms now, her stuffed bear still clutched tight. "You did good, Cap," Ryan said softly. Jack let out a shaky breath, leaning back on his heels as the sirens wailed louder in the distance. He closed his eyes, the weight of 30 years of firefighting pressing down on him. It wasn't retirement yet, but it was enough for tonight. Jack sat on the back of the ambulance, his turnout coat open and sweat pouring down his face. His injured leg throbbed, and the sharp ache in his shoulder reminded him of the fall. Paramedics milled around, assessing him and the little girl, who now sat on a stretcher nearby, a mask over her face as she inhaled oxygen. Her eyes, big and brown, darted around nervously, her stuffed bear still held tightly in her soot-streaked hands. Jack smiled faintly through his exhaustion. "Tough kid," he muttered to himself. Ryan dropped onto the edge of the bumper beside him, his helmet pushed back and face streaked with ash. He looked at Jack, his expression both relieved and incredulous. "Cap, you sure you don't want to retire right now? Might save yourself a few bruises." Jack chuckled hoarsely, though it sent pain through his ribs. "Not how I pictured my last shift, kid." He let the moment hang there, the sound of sirens and crackling fire in the distance filling the air. The fire chief, a stout man named Mike Harris, strode over, his face tight but eyes kind. "Hell of a job in there, Jack." He extended a hand, helping Jack to his feet. "That house was a death trap, and you still went in. You saved that girl." Jack shook Mike's hand firmly, his grip steady despite the tremors running through his body. "It's what we do, Chief," Mike nodded. "You're a stubborn bastard, Mallory, but you've earned your exit. You need to get that leg looked at." Yeah, Jack muttered, brushing it off. But as he took a step, his injured knee nearly buckled. Ryan caught him by the arm. "Easy, Captain. You're not indestructible, you know." Jack grimaced, but he let Ryan help steady him. He turned his gaze to the little girl, now wrapped in a thermal blanket. A woman, presumably her mother, knelt beside her, sobbing as she hugged her daughter tightly. Jack felt something stir in his chest, a familiar mix of relief, pride, and the quiet recognition of sacrifice. A young paramedic approached, clipboard in hand. "Captain Mallory, we're transporting you to St. Vincent's for an X-ray. Leg might be fractured." Jack waved a dismissive hand. "It can wait." The paramedic frowned. "Sir," Jack interrupted, his voice soft but resolute. "Give me a minute." He limped over to the girl, ignoring the sharp protest from his leg. Her mother looked up, tears still streaming down her face. You saved her. Thank you. Thank you so much." Jack knelt down slowly, grit and exhaustion threatening to pull him down, and met the little girl's eyes. "You were very brave tonight, kiddo. Brave like a firefighter." The girl blinked at him, her small fingers still clinging to the bear. Then she whispered hoarsely, "Thank you." Jack smiled, his heart swelling despite the pain. "You're welcome." As he stood back up, he could hear the fire engine rumble as it prepared to leave. The remnants of the Victorian house continued to smolder, now just a skeletal silhouette against the dark sky. Ryan appeared at Jack's side again, hands on his hips. "Cap, you're really something. You know that?" Jack exhaled slowly, his eyes fixed on the ruined house. "Ryan, let me tell you something about this job." Ryan turned to him, listening intently. "There's no glory in it, not the kind they write about in movies or newspapers. It's just sweat, pain, and a lot of heartache. But every now and then," Jack looked back at the girl, safely wrapped in her mother's arms. "You get moments like this, and it makes all of it worth it." Ryan didn't respond right away. He just nodded, as if absorbing the weight of those words. The paramedics were getting impatient now. "Captain Mallory, hospital, now!" Jack sighed and let himself be helped toward the ambulance. As he settled into the stretcher, he looked back at Ryan. "Make sure the crew gets back safe." The fire station was alive with the kind of energy Jack Mallory had rarely felt in his 30 years of service. It wasn't the buzz of an emergency call or the solemn silence after a tough rescue. It was something different, something warmer. Balloons floated lazily near the ceiling, banners hung from the rafters, and the unmistakable smell of barbecue drifted through the air. "Congrats, Cap!" Ryan called as he passed Jack a soda, grinning ear to ear. His energy was contagious, like the young firefighter didn't know how to slow down. Jack took the can, his fingers brushing over the condensation. "I didn't think you kids knew how to throw a retirement party. Only the best for you." Ryan winked. The station's garage had been cleared out for the celebration. The big red fire engines sat in their bays, clean and gleaming like loyal old soldiers. Tables had been set up with food, photos of Jack through the years, and a large cake that read, "Thank you, Captain Mallory." Jack shook hands, accepted hugs, and listened as old stories were swapped. Some were true, others exaggerated, and a few Jack barely remembered happening. There was laughter, tears, and more smiles than Jack thought he deserved. When the fire chief, Mike Harris, stepped to the front of the room, the crowd quieted. He held up a framed plaque. 30 years of service, 30 years of leadership, sacrifice, and courage. You've taught every one of us something, Jack, whether you know it or not. Jack swallowed hard as Mike handed him the plaque. "Say a few words, Cap," Ryan urged from the back. Jack stood there, awkward at first. He looked out over the people, his team, his family, then cleared his throat. "I didn't do this job alone," he began. "No firefighter ever does. It's about trust. It's about knowing someone's always got your back no matter what." He paused, searching for the right words. "I've been lucky to serve alongside the best people I've ever known. If I've taught you anything, I hope it's this. Being a firefighter isn't about saving buildings. It's about saving lives, no matter the cost." The room erupted into applause, but Jack only smiled faintly, his heart full. Tomorrow the firehouse would roll out without him. But tonight, he was still Captain Mallory, still part of the team, and that was enough. Thanks for watching Brave Sparks. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more powerful and inspiring stories. Stay brave, and we'll see you in the next one.